Protest over seized lands politically motivated, Kunedu spokesperson. EC can operate without commissioner, CDD. Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly to demolish 351 houses. Ghana cedi hits a record low. Petroleum Commission inaugurates audit committee. The news in details. The office of former First Lady Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings believes protests by the youth of Edwejir, Kwemu, Oreku, and Nswaso in the eastern region against the transfer of their lands to estate developer Kwant is politically motivated. The youth on Thursday marched on the streets to register their displeasure over what they say is the unlawful leasing of their lands. They accused former First Lady Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings of unlawfully leasing their lands to an estate agent. Now, the Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD, says the Electoral Commission is capable of operating on its own without a substantive chairperson or a commissioner. According to Kojo Asante, the constitution that established the commission makes it possible for it to operate without a commissioner. The comment comes in the wake of the removal of the EC chairperson, Charlotte Osei, and her two deputies, Amadou Sule and Georgina Opoku Amankwa, by President Akufo-Addo. A former health minister under the John Mahama administration says the governing New Patriotic Party, NPP, will be hit by apathy in its strongholds come 2020 due to the failure to fulfill campaign promises since it took over political power. Alex Segbefia said, as was the fate of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, in 2016, the NPP would face a huge voter apathy in its Akan-speaking Ashanti and Eastern regions, strongholds in 2020 polls in view of their massive failure in meeting the skyrocketing campaign promises. In other stories, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, KMA, will soon demolish at least 351 houses following recent flooding, which led to the death of 4 persons and rendered hundreds of residents homeless in the wake of the destruction of property, estimated at thousands of Ghana cedis. Metropolitan Chief Executive of Kumasi, Osei Asibe Entry, speaking in an interview with Hello FM, noted that there are many houses in Kumasi on waterways which were supposed to be pulled down. The first phase of the exercise will see the demolition of about 57 houses, but in general, it is getting to 351. He added that the first 57 houses the Assembly is going to deal with are those without permits, and all necessary steps have been already taken to carry out the exercise without further delay. The Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, says it has not approved any cream meant for bleaching of lips. Their comment comes in the wake of news that the use of chemical concoction for lip bleaching is on the rise among basic and senior high school pupils and students at Commander Edina Eguiafo Ibrahim in KEEA in the Central Region. It has emerged that Conshaw, a term used for the mixture of toothpaste, bleaching cream, and sometimes Ghanaian local alcohol, popularly known as Akwiteshi, is the formula used by people who engage in this lip bleaching exercise. The pupils, both boys and girls, Adu News understands, usually apply the mixture to give their lips either pinkish or reddish looks. Now, the National Theatre will play host to the National Science and Maths Quiz final today, Thursday, 5th, 2018. Competing for the 2018 bragging rights will be West Africa Senior High School, St. Peter's Senior High School, and Adisodel College. These three schools rose about 400 schools to claim a place in the final to battle it out for the bragging rights. If you are now tuning in, you are live on EP Radio and it's our news bulletin with me, Said Hamdia. Ghana's now in business. Ghana's cedi currency hit a record low on Tuesday, due mainly to global pressures as investors continue to exit emerging market assets. The currency of the major commodity exporter has weakened since the start of May, touching 4.8250 to the dollar on Tuesday. Cumulatively, the cedi depreciated 5.3% in the first 6 months compared to 3.3% in the first half of last year, according to Reuters data. The central bank said last month it had significantly increased its weekly dollar sales to banks in support of the local currency. The bank's treasury did not respond to Reuters' request for comments on Tuesday. In a move to ensure effective cooperative governance through efficient internal control mechanisms and risk assessment frameworks, a newly constituted 9-member committee has been inaugurated to steer the auditing affairs of Ghana's upstream petroleum regulator, the Petroleum Commission. The committee, chaired by Yao Nimo Bafo, a representative of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana, ICAG, and Director of Finance at KNUST, will work together with the Internal Audit Department and other co-opted members of the Petroleum Commission in assessing the accounts, reviewing records, and suggesting efficient ways of operating to enhance productivity while reducing wastage in the system. Still on business, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, has asked government to clarify the whereabouts of an unspent amount of 403.74 million Ghana cedis of petroleum revenue allocated to the annual budget funding amount ABFA in 2017. PIAC in its 2017 annual report said government breached the Petroleum Revenue Management Act PRMA 2011 Act 815 in the disbursement of petroleum revenue. Now, traders and importers who conduct businesses along the Ghana-Burkina Faso corridor should be relieved of some of the inefficiencies they face following the rollout of the Single Transit Guarantee Scheme. Per the scheme, traders and importers will pay a single premium on the onset of the journey to cover the cost of entire movement of goods on the corridor. The scheme will also facilitate the documentation process and reduce paperwork that is involved in trading activities. On the international front, the Nigerian Senate has called for an investigation into the tanker explosion that occurred in Lagos on Thursday last week that claimed the lives of 12 people. This followed a motion by Senator Gbenga Ashafa, supported by Senators Oluremi Tinubu and Solomon Adiola. All three senators represent Lagos State. Following the motion, the Senate directed its appropriate committee to dialogue with the Federal Road Safety Corps FRSC and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation to find solutions to incidences of petrol tanker explosions in the country. Specifically, the committee is to work with both organizations to design strategies to ensure that before petrol trucks are loaded, mandatory safety checks are put in place to ascertain the roadworthiness of the trucks. Now, more than 200 migrants died attempting to cross the Mediterranean over the weekend, while 4 rescue ships remain docked in European ports, raising fears of more deaths in the coming months. A total of 218 migrants are believed to have drowned in 2 separate shipwrecks on Friday and Sunday, according to International Organization for Migration (IOM) spokesperson Flavio de Giacomo. Among the dead were 3 babies dressed in brightly colored clothing and looking almost as if they were sleeping. They were carried ashore to Libya on Friday. It brings the total number of migrants dying while crossing the Mediterranean to 1,400 this year, according to De Giacomo. Still on the international front, French President Emmanuel Macron has told the BBC that EU plans to create migrant processing centers in North Africa will not work unless the process is led by those countries. Speaking during a visit to Nigeria, Mr. Macron said many African countries were worried that such centers would act as a pull factor for migrants. No African country has so far agreed to host the centers. EU leaders agreed to explore the idea at a summit earlier this month. Now on entertainment, top Ghanaian musicians Stonebwoy, Sarkodie and Shatta Wale all won accolades at the second edition of the 2018 Entertainment Awards that was held last Saturday at the Schomburg Center in Harlem, New York, USA. Stonebwoy emerged with topmost award, having won the Best Album for this year. Charles Niama, popularly known as Shatta Wale, also won some accolades on the night, having won the Best Song of the Year with his track Taking Over. The late Priscilla Opoku Kwarteng, known as Ebony, won the Best Female Act, with Sarkodie also winning the Best Male Act. This brings us to the end of today's news, but before we go, a recap of our top stories. Protest over seized lands politically motivated, CONADU spokesperson. EC can operate without commissioner, CDD. Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly to demolish 351 houses. Ghana cedi hits a record low. Petroleum Commission inaugurates audit committee. My name is Seidu Hamdia. You can download our app on Google Play, EP Radio on Facebook, EP Urban Radio on Twitter, EP Radio, and on Instagram, EP Radio. Good afternoon. Up next is Mary Jane with Lunch Drive.